You went on Johnny Carson in 1982. I believe it was your first spot. And people don't understand now because there's so much TV and, okay, this comedian went on this show or that show, and it doesn't mean what it meant when Carson was the only show in the world. Very few comics get to go on. It's almost impossible. And if you do get on, it's a big deal. And you went on, and if I'm remembering it correctly, Johnny was so impressed. You were so different and so smart that they invited you back very quickly. Is that true?
Yes, I went on Friday and then the next Thursday.
That didn't happen.
It was insane. When they called me on Wednesday, Jim McCauley, he started talking about the show, and I thought he was referring to the one that happened. I didn't understand what he meant. He said, no, we want you to go on tomorrow.
Did you have another set?
I had another set, but I had like a total of 15 minutes of stuff that could go on there. And I remember saying to him, but if I go on there tomorrow, that's 3 years, more than half the stuff is gone. And he simply said, well, you're going to have to write new stuff anyway. And to go on twice in 1 week is so amazing.
It was unprecedented at the time. And that was a time when if you went on that show, you were famous overnight. I mean, people recognized you the next day because that was all anybody was doing at 11:30 at night was watching Johnny Carson.
Yeah, because it was 3 channels and cable was just starting. Right. It was like going through the Alice in Wonderland, going through the door there, and Peter LaSalle, he saw me in the Ding Ho Chinese restaurant in Cambridge. Mm-hmm. He was the producer of The Tonight Show, and then 2 weeks later, I was on there. We were talking outside in the driveway. Do you remember when we were in the driveway?
Yeah, it was about 15 minutes ago. I'm still capable of remembering things, but yes.
There wasn't a judgment on you. It was just simply, I'm very accurate. I don't even know what I was saying.
We were talking about, you were at the Ding Ho.
Flukes.
Mm-hmm.
Different accidents contribute.
Accidents, little things that happen that change the course of your life.
Contribute. Someone wrote an article about that Chinese restaurant and went in the LA Times. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Then he saw it. Then 8 months later, he was going in the summer to go to Massachusetts and New York because his kids were going to go to college. So they went on a college summer trip, and he remembered the article. So he calls up, and just a lot of flukes.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate.
So you do that, and it's clear that impressionism or abstract, I'll use the word abstraction is really important to you. And there must have been a time in your life when you were a kid or something where you saw abstract art or you read abstract writing and it rang a giant bell in your head.
It wasn't the writing, it was Salvador Dali combined Surrealism. When I had a art class, 11th grade in Burlington, Mass, we went into Boston to one of the main museums, and that's where I first saw Surrealism. I never even heard of Surrealism. And 2 of the paintings I remember, there was a painting of a clothespin in the middle of the field, and it was the size of a silo. Mm-hmm. But it didn't look cartoonish. It didn't look ridiculous. It was like, oh my God. And then there was another painting of a road coming down like this. And then when it went down like that, it turned into a waterfall. And I mean, I was 16. I'm telling you, these paintings, I was jolted by the combining of these 2 realities. And a lot of the writing we were just talking about, the mosaic thing is like, oh, this is not a clothespin. That jolted me more than what I read that was influencing. But your head is like a soup. Everyone's head is a soup, don't you think? It's the ingredients, Kurt Vonnegut, Surrealism, Monty Python, the comedians all over the Tonight Show, and listening to albums, and it all goes into Woody Allen. To me, he's still the best. He's the top guy. His writing and all that goes into your head. I was a big Bruins fan during the Bobby Orr days.
You had to be, by the way, because I was growing up. I was in grade school then. I was in second, third grade, and all anybody talked about back then was Bobby Orr, and
Bobby Orr.
and Phil Esposito, and and everybody, because Bobby Orr was the biggest thing in the world, and in Boston, we just couldn't believe that we had this phenomenal player who was changing the game.
Yeah, it was incredible. That time was incredible. And I would listen to the games in my bed, and I had a radio in the bed. And one night I was fooling with the dial, and I stumbled on this show where a guy played 2 comedy albums every Sunday night. Mm-hmm. So I started tuning in. He played cut from one, cut for the other, and I'm laying in bed in the dark, and I'm listening for like 2 years. I'm doing this, and I didn't know it, but I was like going to school, comedy school, because I'd be thinking, oh, I like that guy. Oh, I don't like that. Yeah. But anyway, it goes back to the soup. Don't you think all your head is like made up of all these different random and sometimes on purpose ingredients?
Yeah, I think that works. I don't, I prefer a stew.
A stew?
Yeah, it's a little heartier. Mine is I think yours is a very light broth. But mine...
You're criticizing me during my analogy, saying that yours is better.
I want to win.
Come on.
It's a light... Listen, I'm not putting down a light broth.
I'm not putting down a light broth.
No,
I never thought I heard you say that.
It's a consommé. No, your brain is a consommé, and you taste it, and you're like, this is great. I've been a little sick, and this is really helping. Now, I'm like, if you've been out in the woods felling trees, you don't want the Stephen Wright consommé. You're a between meal palate cleanser, which, and again, no put down.
No put down.
But I'm in a big crock pot.
Yes. Like
and just huge chunks of really good sirloin and potato, and there's some Guinness in there that really thickens the broth.
You keep going 9 more minutes on that.
Yeah.
Describe it.
Do we have time? Steve, why don't you go get a sandwich? Go get a sandwich.
I come back.
So there's carrots. There's peas. There's some yam.
Oh my God.
There's all kinds of thickeners in the broth,
Oh God, it's thick.
It's a really thick broth. You put the wooden spoon in there and it stands up on its own.
And what if you put a spoon in mine?
Oh, if you put it in yours, it just immediately flips over and falls on the ground. And you have to put it in fast because yours evaporates quickly.
The longer he goes, the worse. Mine's nothing.
Yours diminished and mine keeps getting better.
As time goes on.
No, I mean, critics around the world want to taste my...
around the world.
And yours, they'd taste it if it would stick around long enough. It's just a vapor before they can get to it. But no, I agree with you. I agree with you.
But I agree with you.
There's all this... As long as we've established that mine's the better food, richer, more life-sustaining.